Hello, friends, and welcome to my presentation on personal mission statement. Allow me to give some background. This whole topic is born out of my least favorite interview question, which is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? See, I really struggle to answer this question. It seems what came up in my mind were more relationships and people rather than tasks and hard skills. I would say something to the effect of, I want to be a good husband, or I want to be a good coworker, rather than something about professionalism or anything to do with an organization. So I began to ask myself, am I bad at goal setting? Is that the issue here? And I've done it before, right? That seemed to be a part of my life in other areas. And what I've landed on is that I just struggled to articulate my own personal mission. And that was really highlighted throughout this class. Specifically, when we had our discussion on mission and vision. As a class, we talked about the difference between the two, how they're related with one another, their importance, and these really stuck out to me because not only were they important for organizations, but it really appeared that they became important for human beings as well. Um, Daft did a great job of laying out, a couple of examples of these, as well as the importance and the distinction between the two, which I do think is important. Mission. Why does an organization exist? What is its purpose? What is it there for? Why was it created? Whereas vision is, where is it going? Right? So not only why are we here, but where do we want to be? That seemed to be really important as well. As I started writing about Rosa Parks, it became so clear to me that she had a incredibly strong personal mission. As I'm reading about her bravery, I just came back to the question of why. Why was she able to stand up in the face of oppression and say, no, I'm not giving up my seat? She knew what was going to happen to her. Her whole life had led to this moment. She had spent years honing her craft of fighting for civil rights, fighting for liberty, standing up for oppressed people. She traveled throughout the country learning from some of the best, and she became one of the best. And as we came together as a class and discussed other historical leaders, it became so clear that in order to be remembered by history, you had to go through something. There had to be some sort of trial or obstacle or hardship. Um, and all of these people had such strong personal mission to fall back on and to say, this is why I do what I do. This is why I'm here. This is my purpose. There were other readings too. When we read about the 8 pillars of trust, that to me just was so clear of an explanation for why personal mission is important, right? Clarity, commitment, connection, consistency, all have to do with personal mission, right? And trust sometimes is seen as transparency and authenticity, and it doesn't matter if you're transparent if you don't have a great personal mission to be transparent about. Right? Or then when we read Kuzes and Posner, chapter 7 was probably my favorite reading from the entire class, and the title is "You Have to Know What Is Important to You." As they went through, they discussed things like commitment. They also talked about self-discovery and an unwavering commitment to a set of values. And you have to define those values and principles. And all of this just kept screaming, you need a personal mission statement. And so that's where I ended up, in a place where I began to try and craft my own personal mission statement. And I did run into some difficulties. The first of which, as I mentioned earlier, I do think there's an important distinction between mission and vision. And I kept crafting a vision of where I wanted to be. And I think, for most of us in this class, as people that are pursuing higher education, that are looking to better ourselves, this is easy to do. That was one difficulty. Another one was, quite simply, it's not easy to be objective about yourself, and to to think clearly about your own strengths and weaknesses is not something that comes naturally to most people. As I went through, I had a few realizations as well. I came to be comfortable with the fact of a personal mission statement being somewhat aspirational, and that's because I looked at it more as the ideal state, or your truest self, the being you were created to be. We talk about strengths and weaknesses, and if you're leading from a ceiling, right, you might not hit this statement every time, but a personal mission is more of who you are at your core rather than, you always are hitting this thing, and that's okay. So, my personal mission statement that I came up with will hopefully help me to answer that interview question in the future. So, my mission statement is to communicate and relate to those around me with warmth and joy, and to be a welcoming presence to both friend and stranger. Uh, there's definitely some retooling here that could happen. There are definitely some improvements that could be made, but I felt that this was true to who I am as a person in this time of my life. And my encouragement to you would be to take some time to craft your own personal mission statement, so that when you run into your own least favorite interview questions, you have something firm as a foundation to fall back on. Thank you.